Qianmei was confined by her sect, forbidden from stepping outside for 3 months. Her master, who had emerged from a 10,000-year seclusion, personally intervened to stop his most treasured disciple. He had his reasons. He had to do this for Qianmei's safety. Mu Bingmei, though confused by the situation, sensed that something was off. After arriving at the divine sect with Wang Shanshan, she did not meet Wang Shanshan's master, the Grand Elder and the supreme authority of the divine sect, Shui Daozi. Instead, as soon as she entered the sect, her freedom was immediately restricted. She was taken to a secluded area where the divine sect provided all kinds of pills for cultivation recovery. However, she was not allowed to leave, not even a step. If Mu Bingmei had known that even the grand competition of the Eighth Order sect had been cancelled by the divine sect, her keen intellect would have made her suspicious. While she might not fully understand her true thoughts, she would have started to uncover the truth. But at this moment, Mu Bingmei knew nothing. Even Qianmei was unaware that the grand competition of the Eighth Order sect had been cancelled by the divine sect. Dark currents stirred, spreading through the sea of clouds. On Moro continent, disciples of the Origin Reunion sect, hurriedly called by Lu Yanfei and others, spent 3 days packing up everything, preparing to relocate. They were leaving the Fifth Order Star Domain, where they had lived for countless years, and leaving Moro continent to move to the new sect headquarters, which had been established by the Wuji sect in a newly developed area. Wong Lin sat cross-legged in a secluded chamber of the Origin Reunion sect. His mind and essence spirit merged with the soul of Tian Yunzi sealed within the immortal seal. In that instant, he became like Tian Yunzi. Everything in the world seemed to be within his knowledge, but that was just the surface. While merging with the soul of Tian Yunzi, Wong Lin clasped his hands and meditated, his mind expanding and spreading toward the heavens. Gradually, he became one with the world, achieving a degree of fusion with the heavens. After a full day of effort, Wong Lin reached a state where heaven was him, and he was heaven. In this state, it was as though his essence spirit had left his body, becoming one with the world. This unprecedented fusion between him and the soul of Tian Yunzi was inseparable. If Wong Lin were to perform Tian Yunzi's divine abilities in combat, he wouldn't need such deep fusion. But now, he wasn't using any combat techniques. He was attempting to use the feigned abilities of Tian Yunzi's soul to derive the shocking root cause of the matter, something that terrified him. However, this process was incredibly difficult for Wong Lin. After all, he was not Tian Yunzi. He was merely using a fragment of Tian Yunzi's soul to forcefully derive the truth. At this moment, Wong Lin's mind was shrouded by boundless mist, obscuring everything within. It felt as though an overwhelming force was covering the entire world, preventing him from seeing the source. Yet Wong Lin did not give up. Instead, he intensified his fusion with Tian Yunzi's soul within his essence spirit, using this fusion power to slowly begin to forget some things. He forgot that he was cultivating the Tao, that he was in the Origin Reunion sect on the Sea of Clouds, on Moro continent. Just as he forgot everything, the mist covering his mind suddenly began to spin violently. Thunderous roars echoed through his mind, as though a pair of giant hands were stirring the mist, causing it to rapidly transform into a vortex. In that instant, a thunderous crack of lightning, which only Wong Lin could hear, descended from the heavens, striking the vortex of mist. In the blink of an eye, the swirling mist shattered, scattering rapidly in all directions. In that moment when the mist was dispersing, Wong Lin's mind saw a hidden scene beyond the mist. In the image, there were eyes that radiated a cold, merciless aura. In the sky above the land in the scene, a figure stood, looking indifferently at a person on the ground, staring up at the sky. At the sight of this image, Wong Lin's mind jolted violently, as if a million bolts of lightning had exploded in his ears, nearly causing his mental state to collapse. The image, visible only in his mind, was quickly hidden once again as the thunderclap shattered the mist. Wong Lin snapped his eyes open in the secret chamber, his face paling instantly. That land is Moro continent. The person looking up at the sky is me. The one with those eyes has unfathomable strength. In front of him, I would undoubtedly die. Wong Lin lifted his gaze, his eyes seeming to pierce through the roof of the chamber and directly into the sky. The sky above Moro continent was clear and bright, with a gentle breeze and sunshine. With the fusion of Tian Yunzi's soul, seeing a future scene is already my limit. But I'm unwilling to accept it. I must see more. Wong Lin sneered in silence, forming a seal with his right hand and pointing to his forehead. A faint light shot from his mouth and formed into the immortal seal in front of him. The immortal seal did not remain still. After appearing, it rapidly began to spin, emitting a low hum that reverberated through the air, reaching the mind, and causing a tremor in the spirit of anyone who heard it. Wong Lin made a series of hand seals, imprinting a mark on the seal. In an instant, the immortal seal stopped moving, and the faint light inside flashed brightly, nearly illuminating the entire dark chamber. Within the ethereal light, the soul of Tian Yunzi emerged from the immortal seal and stepped forward, standing right in front of Wong Lin. From beings to soldiers, souls returned to their place, the heavens and earth boundless, embracing the will of heaven. Wong Lin rarely spoke the incantation when casting his divine abilities, but the spell he was about to perform was incredibly powerful, embodying the profound meaning of the from beings to soldiers technique. At the moment he recited the incantation, the soul of Tian Yunzi before him suddenly had its eyes flash with brilliant light. The entire figure then stepped forward with great force, passing through Wong Lin's body, as if both of their beings overlapped. At this very moment, Tian Yunzi's soul turned around suddenly and sat down cross-legged, aligning itself perfectly with Wong Lin. This scene was as though Tian Yunzi's soul had merged with Wong Lin's essence spirit, a true and complete fusion, unlike the previous merging of Wong Lin's consciousness with the immortal seal. Now, the soul and Wong Lin had merged completely, indistinguishable from one another. Wong Lin's body seemed to undergo drastic changes, sometimes becoming Tian Yunzi, and other times returning to his own form. At that moment, Wong Lin shut his eyes, and within his consciousness, a booming sound echoed once more. The vast, endless mist appeared again, only this time, the fog was denser, swirling rapidly. With a low growl from Wong Lin's mind, the mist violently shattered, spreading out in all directions. What emerged from within was an image. The image was not still, but shifting. Inside the image, Wong Lin coughed up blood on the Moro continent. His body instantly collapsed, and his soul barely had time to fly out before it shattered into nothingness. The scene shifted, changing once again. This time, Wong Lin appeared pale and was racing through the starry sky, but no sooner had he escaped than a vast mirror appeared in front of him. Within it, the same pair of eyes appeared again. In a single glance, Wong Lin's body exploded, and his soul perished. The scene turned once more, and this time, it depicted the inner sanctum of the Origin Reunion sect, where Wong Lin was meditating. He raised his head and immediately dashed out, ignoring the sect disciples who were tidying up. He sped toward the starry sky. The passage of time was unclear as Wong Lin dashed away, the starry sky roaring around him. Yet, two beams of light pierced through countless star mists, directly landing on him. The scene shifted again, showing Wong Lin transformed into an ancient god, battling the heavens. In the sky, an old man dressed in Taoist robes raised his hand and pointed downward. In the image, Wong Lin's body suddenly lost all movement, allowing the old man to approach. With a press of his finger to Wong Lin's brow, there was a mighty crash. Wong Lin perished once more. The images continued to shift, depicting hundreds, even thousands of times where Wong Lin struggled and fled, but each time, he died. Death! 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 Wong Lin suddenly opened his eyes, staring ahead with a fixed gaze. Cold sweat poured from his forehead, and his body grew icy, his clothes drenched with sweat in mere moments. Death! 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 With Tian Yunzi's divine powers, none of the future possibilities will allow me to survive. No matter what, I will die for sure. Wong Lin muttered in silence, his eyes showing madness, though more than anything, it was unwillingness. He was now certain that Li Qianmei's departure was tied to him, that Mu Bingmei's departure was tied to him, and the halt of the 8th Order Star Domain Grand Competition had something to do with him. There was a powerful third-step supreme being who sought to kill him. This was not the Tao venerable from the ancient stars of the primordial realm using a palm strike from across the world, but a third-step supreme being, coming in person, intending to take his life. I, Wong Lin, have always cultivated the rebellious path, facing countless life and death crises. No matter how great the danger, I must confront it. I don't believe I cannot find a way to break the situation. If I can't, then I will die, and it will be no regret. Wong Lin's eyes flashed coldly. He reached out into the air, and immediately a spatial crack appeared in front of him. Several imitation heavenly reversal pearls flew out from within. He swept his gaze over the pearls and immediately picked one up. His eyes shimmered with a rainbow light, enveloping his body before directly merging with the pearl. The pearl absorbed the rainbow light and exploded with a roar, transforming into a colorful vortex that hovered in front of Wong Lin. Staring at the vortex, Wong Lin gritted his teeth and inhaled deeply. He immediately sucked the vortex into his mouth, and his consciousness roared in response. Summon, rebel practitioner, calculate the heaven and earth arts. Wong Lin's voice was low and cold, filled with an air of slaughter. He called upon the reverse path technique within himself, summoning the thread of life that would push forward the future of life and death, making himself the very heavens and earth. The moment his voice rang out, Wong Lin's mind shook, and a vast power erupted from within his body. This power surged into his consciousness, landing on the scene within his mind, tearing through all the fog, and revealing the final image once more. In that image, there was a person. I am Jin Biao, known as Jin Biaozi. Previously, they had been speaking in hushed tones, filled with some confusion and excitement. They had just learned that the Origin Reunion sect not only had not disbanded, but was moving to the Seventh Order star domain. However, at that moment, the suddenly clear sky darkened, followed by a sharp, earth-shattering sound. A golden light rushed from the heavens toward the Origin Reunion sect's plaza. In the blink of an eye, the golden light arrived, and inside it was a jade slip. As the slip approached, it suddenly hovered above the plaza of the Origin Reunion sect. This sudden change immediately caused an uproar among the disciples of the Origin Reunion sect. Even Lu Yanfei and the others changed their expressions. The aura emanating from the jade slip was unmistakably from a shattered nirvana expert. And not just any shattered nirvana, but one at the perfect shattered nirvana stage. A single jade slip, capable of shaking the heavens, caused the world to change color, the winds to reverse, and subtle fluctuations in countless laws to emerge. I am Jin Biao, known as Jin Biaozi. The authoritative voice roared out from the jade slip, reverberating across the entire Origin Reunion sect, shaking even the Moro continent itself. Lu Yanfei, having seen much in the Eighth Order Wuji sect, was not an ordinary glimpse of Nirvana cultivator. Her gaze flashed as she cupped her hands and said, I am unaware of why Senior Jin Biaozi has come to my Origin Reunion sect. May I ask your purpose? You are in great danger and still unaware. Let me speak plainly. 3 days ago, someone approached me to buy the lives of everyone in your Origin Reunion sect. The voice carried an inexplicable pressure, like thunder roaring as the rules of the world descended, engulfing the minds of every disciple of the Origin Reunion sect who heard it. Lu Yanfei's expression changed instantly. But I have no grudge with your sect. Although I urgently need primordial crystals to refine pills, I do not wish to do such a thing. However, if I have no other choice, I will take the lives of all in the Origin Reunion sect. Lu Yanfei's eyes flashed coldly as she sneered, but the other disciples of the Origin Reunion sect were filled with dread. You have returned to clean up and prepare for dissolution. However, I have old ties with the sect master of Wuji sect. That sect master once owed me a favor, and if you satisfy me, I will write a letter to save your sect from dissolution. Killing all of you is not my wish, but if you offer enough primordial crystals or equivalent treasures, this matter will be settled. The voice of the Tsanglong, Azure Dragon, carried a domineering aura with an unmistakable threat. But due to the aura of perfect shattered nirvana, the threat immediately became sharp enough to make anyone hearing it tremble in fear. Lu Yanfei remained silent, her expression growing colder. At that moment, in the closed-door cultivation room, Wong Lin opened his eyes. His gaze seemed to pierce through the walls of the room. Jin Biao. Wong Lin's face turned cold as he stood, separating his soul from Tianyunzi and sealing it within the immortal sealing seal. He swallowed the seal in one gulp and stepped forward. In an instant, he was no longer in the cultivation room, but was standing in the sky above the plaza of the Origin Reunion sect. My time is limited. I give you half an incense stick of time to consider. After that, the aura from the jade slip filled the air, turning into an overwhelming pressure. Yet, at that moment, Wong Lin's cold gaze swept across the jade slip, his divine sense extending out. He unleashed all his cultivation, fusing it with his divine sense, creating a storm that swept across the Moro continent. Using the aura from the jade slip as a guide, his divine sense quickly locked onto a bustling human city at the southern edge of the continent. This city was prosperous, and at that moment, the streets were filled with people. In the southern part of the city, there was an inn. Inside a room with a closed door, an elderly man sat cross-legged. He was dressed in Taoist robes, exuding an immortal air. His long white hair made him appear like a celestial being. Before him floated a jade pendant, clear as jade, with the illusion of the sun, moon, and stars dancing upon it. It seemed to contain the entire world. Strangely, though, no aura leaked from it. Even if one looked up close, they couldn't sense the pendant's oddities. Only with the naked eye could one feel its breathtaking aura. Half an incense stick later, if the primordial crystal is not delivered, all living beings of the Origin Reunion sect will be reduced to ashes in an instant. The elderly man, sitting cross-legged, seemed to speak to himself as these words left his mouth. As soon as his voice was spoken, it was immediately absorbed by the jade pendant and transmitted hundreds of thousands of miles away, within the Origin Reunion sect. But I also know that your sect lacks any significant treasures. Fine, you all will leave behind all your storage pouches and everything within your storage spaces. In return, I will consider this matter as if it never happened. Not only will this save your sect from disaster, but I will also write a letter to the sect master of the Wuji sect on your behalf. I, Jin Biaozi, have cultivated for a lifetime and rarely show mercy. So make your choice. The elderly man said, shaking his head. His words were filled with subtle fluctuations, perfectly balanced, making them incredibly expressive. After finishing, the old man opened his eyes, his gaze flashing with a sinister grin. He had already received information about the grand competition, knowing that the Origin Reunion sect was doomed to disband. He had been waiting here for the return of the cultivators from the competition, so he could strike when panic was at its peak in the sect. This would allow him to succeed in one fell swoop. However, due to the secrecy from the Wuji sect, he was unaware of the stunning performance of the Origin Reunion sect in the Wuji sect or Wong Lin's existence. This is almost a sure thing. I, Jin Biaozi, have never failed when I take action. It's a pity that I can't show myself. The beautiful Lu Yanfei from the Origin Reunion sect is called the #1 beauty in the 5th Order Star domain. What a shame. If only I could have a taste. The old man sighed inwardly, gazing at the jade pendant before him. The look of pride in his eyes deepened, and he raised his hand to seize the pendant. However, in that instant, a cold voice suddenly echoed within the room. Are you Lu Jinbiao? The voice came so abruptly that the elderly man was startled, his body seemingly leaping into the air. His face turned ashen, and as he turned, he saw a figure standing in the corner of the room. The figure had white hair, wore white robes, and his eyes glowed with a cold light. As soon as their gazes met, the elderly man's mind rang with a roar, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fear filled his eyes as he gasped, "Shattered Nirvana monster!" At the same time, his body surged forward, heading straight for the window, attempting to escape. Wong Lin coldly stared at the old man, stepping forward. An immense aura exploded, causing the elderly man to tremble and spit out another mouthful of blood. In his panic, the old man formed a seal with his hands and screamed, "Jade pendant, protect me." The jade pendant floating in the air suddenly flashed with light, racing toward the elderly man at such speed that even Wong Lin barely saw it. In an instant, it hovered around the old man's body, and with a blinding flash, it crashed through the window, propelling him into the sky to flee. Just as the old man broke free, Wong Lin reached out and slapped the void in front of him. Immediately, the world shook, and immense pressure howled from all directions, heading straight for the old man. But as the pressure closed in, the jade pendant's light expanded outward with a deafening rumble. Wong Lin's deadly strike, meant to kill a shattered nirvana cultivator, was utterly shattered. The elderly man, protected by the jade pendant, remained unscathed. With a streak of light, he shot toward the distance. Wong Lin's heart trembled, his eyes fixed on the fleeing figure. He wasn't focusing on the old man, but on the jade pendant. Through his deductions, the final image he saw was of the old man, Jin Biaozi. However, Wong Lin was puzzled. The old man's cultivation was far too low. It seemed that not long ago, the old man had just broken through to the Yin deficiency realm. Such cultivation, even if combined with hundreds of others, was insufficient to withstand Wong Lin's previous strike. Yet, under the protection of the jade pendant, this old man remained unharmed. This immediately caught Wong Lin's attention, and his eyes lit up. What is this jade pendant? Wong Lin's body surged forward like a rainbow, racing after the old man. Surrounded by the jade pendant's glow, the old man had now turned as pale as death. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with unprecedented panic. Having deceived many people over the years, he had rarely failed, thanks to the pendant. No one had ever detected his schemes, but now, someone had found him, and was coming for him. Shattered nirvana monster. As he thought about his opponent's cultivation, the old man's fear intensified. He cursed the slow speed of his escape, desperately fleeing. Jade pendant, I depend on you for this crisis. Since I obtained you, you've never disappointed me. Today, when faced with life and death, you must help me. You know, most of the primordial crystals I've tricked out of others have been absorbed by you. The old man's face grew even paler as he spoke. His words seemed to have an effect. The light from the jade pendant suddenly began to glow even more fiercely, boosting the old man's speed. But just as the elderly man, surrounded by the pendant's light, fled thousands of miles away, the space before him rippled, and Wong Lin stepped out from within, raising his right hand and sweeping it forward. Thunder rumbled and roared as it erupted from the sky, accompanied by a fierce wind that howled and transformed into a storm. The wind collided directly with the jade pendant. The deafening sound of thunder seemed as though the heavens and earth themselves were about to tear apart. The light from the jade pendant flickered intensely, yet it showed no signs of damage. It turned and changed direction, continuing to flee. I'll see where you can run. Wong Lin's voice was cold as ice. As the words left his mouth, he stepped forward, his hands forming seals. A vast number of restrictive formations materialized and spread across the land. With a wave, they formed an enclosing prison that rushed toward the jade pendant. The elderly figure within the jade pendant showed signs of despair, but just then, a screeching sound came from within the pendant. A thick black mist erupted from it, transforming into a massive centipede, its body hundreds of feet long. This centipede, pitch black in color with a golden line running along its back, was incredibly menacing. Upon its appearance, it immediately turned and unleashed a poisonous mist toward Wong Lin, who was closing in. The mist contained deadly toxins, and the formations Wong Lin had summoned in front of him instantly shattered upon contact with the mist. Wong Lin's eyes flashed. Without hesitation, he surged forward, raising his right hand to point at the sky. He shouted, "Thunder of heaven and earth, heed my command." As his voice echoed, endless thunderbolts appeared in the sky above Moro continent. These bolts of lightning transformed into invisible strikes, taking the place of the heavens themselves. With a deafening roar, they surged toward the gigantic centipede. The centipede, howling in rage, appeared to be in a desperate struggle. As the lightning neared, an eerie scene unfolded. More black mist poured out from the jade pendant, and 6 more centipedes, each over 100 feet long, emerged. A total of 7 centipedes now attacked. Their terrifying shrieks and poisonous mist filled the air as they collided with the incoming thunderbolts. The resulting explosions were earth-shattering, the air thick with the scent of death. 3 of the centipedes were immediately obliterated, disintegrating into nothingness, while the remaining 4 retreated rapidly. Wong Lin's gaze sharpened. He dashed into the path of the thunder, raising his right hand to deliver a powerful strike. With a deafening crash, 2 more centipedes were destroyed. The last 2 centipedes, their bodies trembling in fear, began retreating back toward the jade pendant. But Wong Lin was not about to let them escape. He flicked his right hand, and his storage space opened, 2 short swords flying out with incredible speed, heading straight for the 2 centipedes. The sound of clashing metal rang out as the swords turned into flashes of light. The retreating centipedes trembled violently before collapsing into nothingness. With all 7 centipedes destroyed, the restrictions and formations Wong Lin had set in place no longer faced any resistance. They converged and locked around the jade pendant, sealing it off and preventing any further escape. Wong Lin, examining the pendant, could sense that it was far from ordinary. It must be a powerful treasure of some kind. From his calculations, the last glimpses of life he had seen pointed to Jin Biaozi. Now, Wong Lin was more certain than ever. His fate was deeply tied to this jade pendant. With the restrictive formations sealing it in place, Wong Lin took a step forward, drawing closer to the pendant. He raised his right hand to grab it, but just as he did, an overwhelming, fiery aura erupted from within the pendant. The black mist surged once again, and a 1,000-foot centipede emerged from the pendant. Wong Lin was so close that the centipede's manifestation nearly brushed against him. It opened its massive mouth and unleashed a poisonous mist, charging toward Wong Lin to swallow him whole. At the same moment, Jin Biaozi's face twisted in fury. He roared, "Jade pendant, consume him. He's a shattered nirvana monster. He must have many treasures like the primordial crystal. Devour him, and I'll leave everything to you." As the massive centipede came crashing toward him, Wong Lin's expression remained unchanged. With his sharp mind, how could he not anticipate the tricks of this cursed pendant? As the centipede closed in, Wong Lin's eyes flashed. He opened his mouth and let out a roar. Roar. This was no ordinary cultivator's roar. It was the roar of an ancient god. A shout from a near 6-star royal ancient god. The sound was deafening, as if the heavens themselves were about to rupture. The earth trembled as mountains in the distance crumbled, and rivers twisted, howling in response. The roar of the ancient god, combined with Wong Lin's current cultivation, at such a close distance, could shatter the body of a pure nirvana cultivator, cause the flesh of an early shattered nirvana cultivator to collapse, or shock the mind of a mid-shattered nirvana cultivator, causing them to cough up blood and suffer heavy injuries. It could even make a late shattered nirvana cultivator's ears ring, their 7 orifices bleed, and lose all sense of perception. Even a cultivator at perfect shattered nirvana, at this distance, would be injured and briefly dazed. The 1,000-zhang centipede had not yet begun to unleash its devouring power when it immediately let out a terrible scream, its body shaking violently, as if a fierce wind had swept past, or as if hundreds of thousands of carts had collided with it. With a thunderous sound, the 1,000-zhang centipede's body instantly collapsed and shattered, vanishing without a trace. The agonizing scream it emitted before its death still echoed through the heavens and earth, becoming the ultimate silence. Once the centipede was gone, the jade pendant's glow immediately faded, but a faint, gentle radiance still surrounded the pendant. As this soft light spread, it seemed to clash with all the light in the world, as if the pendant should not exist in this world, as if it belonged to another realm entirely. Wong Lin reached out with his right hand, grabbing the jade pendant from the air. The moment his hand grasped the pendant, a sudden thunderous roar exploded in Wong Lin's mind. An indescribable force burst forth from the pendant, surging into his body. As it swept through, the heavenly reversal pearl and his divine sense emitted light, which harmonized with the pendant's glow. Under this illumination, the jade pendant in Wong Lin's hand suddenly vanished, merging entirely into his body. It appeared outside the heavenly reversal pearl in his divine sense. The heavenly reversal pearl suddenly absorbed it with a powerful pull, drawing the pendant into itself. At that very instant, the heavenly reversal pearl collapsed. It disappeared from Wong Lin's divine sense, as though it had never existed. But Wong Lin could still distinctly feel the presence of the heavenly reversal, and he even had a vague sense that, at this moment, he had become the heavenly reversal. This feeling was unclear, but there was no time for Wong Lin to contemplate it, for as the heavenly reversal dissipated, a series of memories that did not belong to him suddenly surged into his mind. In these memories, there was darkness. A jade pendant was buried deep in the earth, remaining unchanged after countless millennia, until one day, the soil around the pendant loosened. 8 small centipedes crawled from the ground, stopping beside the pendant, as if awakened by its power, absorbing its aura. As time passed, the 8 centipedes began to emit the aura of cultivators. One day, their bodies trembled and died, but their nascent souls rushed into the pendant, gradually transforming into what seemed like a weapon spirit. However, this spirit was an external influence, unable to fully control the pendant's power. It could only manifest 1 in 1,000 times. Countless millennia later, the earth trembled again, and the mountains and rivers shifted. The jade pendant, which had been deeply buried, revealed one corner above the surface. An elderly man, bruised and battered, fled in haste. Behind him, curses and shouts of fraud echoed. As he fled, the old man's injuries flared up, and he spat a mouthful of blood. By sheer coincidence, the blood fell onto the exposed corner of the jade pendant, causing it to glow, and the old man immediately noticed. He picked up the pendant, glanced at it, then hurriedly fled again. Wong Lin abruptly snapped out of the vision. Although everything seemed slow, in reality, only a moment had passed, and no one outside could detect anything unusual. Jin Biaozi stood dumbfounded, staring at Wong Lin, witnessing the bizarre disappearance of the jade pendant in his hand. Moreover, he felt a sharp pain in his mind as his connection with the pendant was severed. But now, compared to his life, the pendant meant nothing. Jin Biaozi's eyes filled with terror as he knelt, wailing, "Senior, please spare me. I have never killed anyone in my life. I only occasionally deceive people, scare them a little, and at most take some valuables, but I have never killed anyone. My crime is not worthy of death. Please spare me, Senior. I swear I will repent and never deceive anyone again. I will be a good person from now on." Jin Biaozi continued to kowtow, trembling in fear, his face pale, as he begged. "This jade pendant is extraordinary. Even 8 common centipedes inside can cultivate to the level of a shattered nirvana cultivator. Jin Biaozi has used it to deceive countless people, never once being exposed." Wong Lin took a deep breath, unwilling to listen to Jin Biaozi's incessant rambling. He waved his sleeve, immediately pulling the man into the storage space. "This person's crimes are not enough to warrant death. His deceptions over the years have nothing to do with me, but since he deceived the Origin Reunion sect, a slight punishment is in order. Su Ligua, you've been so lonely for so long. Take this man and teach him a lesson." Wong Lin's divine sense transmitted to Su Ligua, who had been trapped in the storage space for many years. Su Ligua, who had been disheartened for 100 years, had constantly cursed and longed for the pleasures of the world, especially reminiscing about his mischievous times in the Luodan star domain. He often wished he could experience it all over again. In his moment of solitude, he suddenly received Wong Lin's transmission. Seeing Jin Biaozi fall into the storage space, his spirit was instantly revived. His eyes gleamed with excitement, and he almost screamed in exhilaration. "Don't worry, master. Haha, Xiao Su will definitely teach this blind fool a lesson and let him know just how powerful I, Su Ligua, am." Su Ligua said excitedly, rubbing his hands together with a wicked smile on his face as he slowly closed in on the elder named Jin Biaozi. In Jin Biaozi's growing fear, the light in his eyes grew brighter and brighter. "Damn it! How many years has your Su grandpa been lonely, huh? How many years? Finally, heaven has opened its eyes today, and you, old fool, offended that ominous star. Good, very good." Su Ligua laughed maniacally as he lunged at him. But this laugh, there was something perversely sinister about it. This shift left Wong Lin somewhat taken aback. He was more confused than anything, with a hint of unease creeping in. The life force I predicted is tied to this jade pendant, but now both the pendant and Qianmei have disappeared. How do I resolve this? Wong Lin frowned, his body swaying as he returned to the Origin Reunion sect. Inside the Origin Reunion sect, Lu Yanfei and the others were waiting for Wong Lin. As soon as they saw him, they greeted him respectfully, but Wong Lin, still lost in thought, nodded slightly. The jade slip Jin Biao had sent was now an ordinary item. With the shattered Nirvana aura gone, the jade slip itself was quite simple. It was created by the centipede spirit inside the jade pendant, and the shattered Nirvana aura had hidden its true nature, which was why it didn't reveal any flaws. Now, with the death of all 8 centipedes, the aura had dissipated, and the jade slip was now nothing more than a common object. Master Uncle, everything is ready within the Origin Reunion sect. We are prepared to leave at any time, Lu Yinfei said softly, looking at Wong Lin. Wong Lin remained silent, glancing at the sect. He did have some feelings for this place, as it was where he had spent his early days in the Sea of Clouds, and where he had gained his identity in the Sea of Clouds. Go ahead without me. I still have some trivial matters to take care of. If there's an opportunity in the future, I'll come find you in the 7th Order Star Domain, Wong Lin said slowly after a pause. A trace of sadness flashed in Lu Yinfei's eyes, but she understood. With Wong Lin's cultivation, it was clear he wouldn't stay in the small Origin Reunion sect for long. It was just faster than she had expected. Biting her lip, Lu Yinfei bowed to Wong Lin, wanting to say something but ultimately keeping it inside, sighing inwardly. With that, she led all the disciples of the Origin Reunion sect into the teleportation array and left. Before leaving, every disciple of the Origin Reunion sect bowed respectfully to Wong Lin. Watching them depart, Wong Lin took a deep breath and sat cross-legged in the empty square of the Origin Reunion sect. He gazed at the sky, his eyes filled with cold light. All the paths I've predicted lead only to death. Even if I go to the 7th Order Star Domain with the Origin Reunion sect, it would be the same. Even if I run now, I can't escape. I, Wong Lin, have always cultivated in defiance of the heavens. If there's no path left for me, then I'll carve out one myself. The coldness in Wong Lin's eyes deepened. He waved his right hand, and his storage space appeared. 2 short swords flew out from it. These swords were items he had obtained from the Rainbow Realm, and they were sealed. He had never broken the seal, but in the face of this crisis, he decided to forcefully open it, adding more power to himself. As Wong Lin prepared for his life-or-death tribulation, far in the 9th Order Star Domain, inside the Skybreaker sect, Qianmei, who was trapped by 3 Skybreaker sect elders in a formation, looked at her master and softly said, "Master, you won't let me leave, but could you at least give me a reason?" Her master, the sect master of the Skybreaker sect, remained silent, as though his life force had been drained, leaving only his body behind. "Master, I've grown up by your side since I was young. You taught me the Tao and gave me the cultivation I have today. Now, the demon sect battlefield is ongoing, and I ask for nothing except to return to the battlefield," Qianmei said softly, her head lowered. "At the demon sect, I've already sent a jade slip. You can go 3 months from now. There's no need to hurry," her master replied in a raspy voice after a long pause. Qianmei's eyes narrowed as she looked at her master, her heart suddenly shaken. She had never understood why her master had acted this way, especially with the involvement of 3 punishment elders. These elders were clearly not there to imprison her. With her cultivation, she was nowhere near strong enough to require 3 elders to deal with her. The 3 elders, it seemed, were there to monitor and bear witness. The question was, monitor what? Qianmei's face turned pale as she pieced together the situation. The 3 punishment elders were not watching her. They were watching her master. Initially, she had thought her master's actions were due to her forceful departure from the demon sect, but now, seeing that he had instructed her to return to the battlefield 3 months later, it was clear that this had nothing to do with the demon sect at all. What could have happened to make Master act so out of character? A faint unease crept into Qianmei's heart. It wasn't concern for herself. Strangely, Wong Lin's image had surfaced in her mind without warning. "Master, what exactly have I done that you must restrict me for 3 whole months?" Qianmei lifted her head, eyes firm, staring at her master. Her master let out a quiet sigh. Looking at his most cherished disciple, his gaze softened with affection, yet remained conflicted. After a long pause, he slowly began, "You." But before he could finish, the moment the first word left his mouth, one of the 3 elders outside the formation cupped his fist and interjected, "Sect Master, please reconsider. I know what I'm doing. The sect master of the Skybreaker sect replied coldly, casting a sharp glance at the elder who had spoken. Li Qianmei, he continued, fixing his gaze on her. Do you know someone by the name of Lu Zihao? Li Qianmei's expression remained calm, but inwardly, her mind trembled as if struck by thunder. Waves of turmoil roiled inside her. I do. Back then, you sent me to the Fifth Order Star Domain to retrieve the belongings and jade slip left behind by senior brother Sima. It was on that journey that I encountered Lu Zihao. That is the reason I'm restricting you for 3 months, the Skybreaker sect master said, looking deeply into her eyes. Li Qianmei fell silent. Yet within her frail frame, a quiet strength began to gather. For Wong Lin's sake, she had once left the battlefield of the demon sect without hesitation. Now, upon hearing her master's words, her sharp mind instantly sensed a looming threat to Wong Lin, so dire that even her master could do nothing to stop it. This so-called confinement was, in truth, a way to protect her. In that silence, her expression gradually grew serene, though a sense of resolve and bitterness spread through her. Slowly, she rose from her cross-legged position. The moment she stood, the expressions of the 3 elders outside the formation darkened. One of them even barked. Li Qianmei, what are you doing? Master, she said calmly. I was an orphan since birth. You raised me, and I've always been grateful. You taught me how to live, how to cultivate. Though you are my master, in my heart, you are like a father. She looked at him with deep reverence, then knelt down slowly and bowed. For this kindness, if there is a next life, I will repay you with my life 1,000 times over. The Skybreaker sect master's heart trembled. His gaze grew even more complex as he looked at Li Qianmei. He had raised her, and he knew her nature well. You taught me the Tao, helped me refine pills. Because of you, I reached the shattered nirvana stage within just 1,000 years. I know that for my sake, you consumed a vast amount of the sect's resources. Some of the elders even resented you for it, spoke harshly of you. Master, I can never forget this grace. Even in the next life, as ox or horse, I will repay you. She kowtowed a second time. The debt she owed her master was something she could never fully repay. I also know that many elders often suspected me because of the color of my hair. They said I was not of our kind and therefore could not be trusted. They resented that you used the sect's precious pills on me, even opposed your decision to teach me cultivation. But you never cared about any of that. You were always gentle, always like a father. For my sake, you even spent your own primordial energy to help me refine pills, to stabilize my foundation. How could I possibly repay such kindness? Tears sparkled at the corners of Li Qianmei's eyes. She rarely cried. Even when mocked as a child, alone in a vast world, she had never shed many tears. But now she wept. Choked with emotion, she lowered her head and gave her master a third bow. For all of this, even if I die, I will never forget. But now, I must go. Li Qianmei looked up. Tears streamed freely down her cheeks as she gazed at the man who, in her heart, was like a father. Is he really worth it? Her master asked, staring at the girl he had raised with his own hands. In truth, he had long regarded her as his own daughter. He already has someone in his heart, a woman who resides there so deeply that no one could ever replace her. I don't even know what I feel for him. It's hard to explain. But even after 100 years, his image has never faded. It's like in a previous life, I was a fish beneath the water, and he was a bird flying across the sky. I don't understand it fully. I even know that his heart will never open to someone else again. But all of that, whether he's worth it or not, that's not how I measure this. Her voice softened. All I know is if I learn the truth and still choose not to go, I will never be happy again in this life. The Skybreaker sect master remained silent. After a long time, he finally let out a sigh and said slowly, the grand competition for 8th Order sects has been cancelled by the Divine sect. These words made Li Qianmei's body tremble violently. As a disciple of a 9th Order star domain, she naturally understood that only one force could cancel the grand competition of an 8th Order sect, the Divine sect. Years ago, the Divine sect began investigating Lu Zihao. It continued until he appeared. Are you still going to go? Her master asked softly. The bitterness on Li Qianmei's face deepened, but so did her resolve. She looked at her master and nodded. I have to go. No ordinary member of the divine sect could halt the grand competition of an 8th order star domain. The one who gave this order was the grand elder of the divine sect, Waterpath Master. With your cultivation level, what can you possibly do before Waterpath Master? Can you stop him? Not just you. Even if every single cultivator in our entire Skybreaker sect acted together, would it make a difference? Her master closed her eyes. Qianmei bit her lower lip, drawing blood. The taste in her mouth was bitter, yet the determination in her eyes didn't fade. It only grew stronger.